Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're diving into the really fascinating psychology behind people who just feel everything at a completely different depth. You know what I mean? We're going to unpack the anatomy, like the literal structural wiring of what psychology actually calls a deep feeler. We'll look at how they process the world in ways that honestly go completely unnoticed by pretty much everyone else.
So start by asking yourself this. Have you ever wondered why two people can experience the exact same situation so differently? I want you to really picture a shared experience. Maybe it's a tense disagreement at work over an email. Or, I don't know, just a brief, slightly awkward exchange with the barista. You've got identical words spoken, identical actions taken, yet entirely different emotional aftermaths for the two people involved. It's wild, right?
And this brilliantly illustrates the core mystery we're unpacking today. On one hand, you have someone moving on in a single day. They forget the interaction entirely as soon as they walk out the door. But on the other hand, you've got someone remembering a single moment for years. While one person just brushes it off and goes about their week, another feels it deep in their heart long after everyone else has moved on. So, why does that happen?
Well, the absolutely crucial point here is that this isn't simply an overreaction. It's not someone just choosing to be dramatic. Not at all. Psychology actually tells us that some individuals simply process the world with profound emotional intensity. A deep feeler is someone who doesn't just experience emotions, but experiences them at a completely different, structurally distinct depth. It's quite literally how their brain interacts with reality. They're constantly absorbing and translating all that emotional data around them.
All right, let's break this down. Section 1. Intake. Noticing the unseen details.
So deep feelers naturally pick up on these tiny emotional details that most people completely miss. They're constantly reading the room. Imagine sitting in a meeting. Maybe there's a slight shift in a coworker's tone, a fleeting facial expression when a certain topic comes up, or just a tiny kind of unnatural pause in the conversation. Their brains act like highly sensitive antennas, capturing all these hidden signals. And the crazy part? They don't even have to try to look for these cues. The information literally just floods in.
And it doesn't stop with individual people. Because they're so highly responsive to emotional environments, the overall energy in a room profoundly influences how they feel. Picture walking into a meeting room right after two people were just arguing, or stepping into a house where someone is silently grieving. Most of us might just notice, hey, it's a bit quiet in here, but a deep feeler immediately feels the heavy weight of that atmosphere. They don't just exist in a space, they absorb it. Certain people and places can soak right into their system and actually alter their mood on a deeply psychological level.
Moving on to Section 2, Processing, the Echo Chamber.
Okay, here's how that mental loop actually functions in reality. It all starts with the experience itself. Let's say a super awkward goodbye at a dinner party. But long after the event is over and they've driven all the way home, the replay begins. They revisit the memory, kind of tossing the interaction back and forth in their mind, which inevitably forces a search for meaning. Why did that person look away? Wait, was their tone weird? Ultimately, this mental loop amplifies and intensifies that original feeling. And it's really important to recognize here, they aren't doing this because they enjoy overthinking. Not at all. Their mind simply and naturally demands meaning.
All right, Section 3, Attachments and the Peaks of Joy.
Now this next part totally shatters a very common myth. We so often assume sensitivity only equals sadness, right? Like feeling deeply just means hurting more. But psychology reveals a completely different reality. Deep feelers also experience vastly stronger joy. A kind gesture from a stranger, a genuinely meaningful conversation, or just a really beautiful memory creates an equally lasting, deeply joyful impact. Their emotional world isn't just deeper during the bad times, it's incredibly vibrant, rich, and deep during the good times too.
And because of this intense capacity to feel, connections become emotionally significant for them much faster than average. When they care about someone, they genuinely, deeply invest. They'll remember the really specific, small details you mentioned in passing weeks ago, and they'll think about you long after an interaction ends. Because of this high level of emotional investment, they end up forging incredibly strong attachments very, very quickly.
But, as you might guess, this rapid, deep connection is a bit of a double-edged sword. On one side, it makes their relationships uniquely meaningful, rich, and deeply rewarding. I mean, they make fantastic, incredibly empathetic friends and partners. But on the flip side, because their emotional baseline is so invested, it makes things exceptionally painful when relationships experience fallouts or even just simply fade away. The higher the peak, the steeper the drop.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Understanding the Deep Feeler.
So, To quickly summarize the 5 psychological signs we've just explored, these are individuals who notice the tiny emotional details others miss, experience profound and lasting joy, form fast and deeply rooted attachments, reflect constantly on their interactions to find meaning, and naturally absorb the environmental energy around them. Take a moment and really think about this profile. Perhaps you recognize these patterns in a coworker, a partner, a close friend, or maybe you're sitting there realizing this explains exactly how you felt your entire life.
I absolutely love this quote from our source material because it just sums it all up perfectly. Every day, people reveal who they are through patterns they don't even realize they're showing. That is the absolute secret to human connection. Once you learn how to recognize these hidden patterns, how someone takes in the world, processes it, and outputs their emotions, you're going to understand people in a profound way that honestly, most people never do.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. How deep is your emotional world? Are you just casually walking through the rooms of your life, or are you truly absorbing them? Take a moment to reflect on your own depth today. Honor the unseen details in yourself and others, and definitely keep exploring. Thanks for joining me.